are you? And, we just continue to highlight these amazing entrepreneurs. And I'm telling you, they're all different. They all are putting their piece of the pie into the entrepreneur place. It's fantastic, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm doing great today, Neil, and I'm super excited for our guest today, Jack Wu. I've actually had the pleasure of working with him for a very large organization, Rotary International, and him and his team have just been incredible in helping us put together technical solutions. And so he actually just about 2, 3 years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, came out with a new Chat GPT wrapper called Chat Everywhere, and essentially it helps folks with prompt engineering, right? How do you get the right prompts to get that information? And whether it's, hey, help me build a product, help me do SEO, all these different agents, right? So Neil and I love talking about AI, so this is going to be like the
Yeah.
perfect.
Oh, and I think all the people live streaming are in there. They're going to be definitely wanting to share, like, and subscribe to the Savant podcast, but also anything that Chris and I are able to talk about, especially UX Bright. Because Jack, what's happening, and I'm just going to pass it over to Chris, but I'm just going to give my point of view is if you're not jumping on AI right now, you're going to miss the boat. It's so important, and so many people are utilizing it in the wrong way. It's a game changer for somebody who has hit their peak as as a solopreneur. Now they can really have a lot of resources that would have cost a lot of money in funding. And Jack, maybe you can answer that question. Do you agree with me on that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for the intro as well. Um, I hope I didn't expand too much on this, but essentially how I see AI is that if we rewind back a little bit, right, where computer first started, you need to learn how to build a computer first in order to use a computer. Essentially, you're outsourcing your thinking outside of your brain, so it could do actual calculation for you. That's what it used to do back in the day. And then, where you need to learn, they have a keyboard and mouse now, so it's easier to use. You just need to learn how the computer works. Then you could use it. You could leverage the power computer. Then we have software. Software is everywhere. In the last 2 decades, it evolved more and more. But now, finally, AI is allowing people to use the natural language. Basically, as long as they could speak, they could control
Mm.
a computer. So that really lowered the barrier of entry for computer itself. So what that means is now people no longer need to learn how to use those complicated software, invest 10, 20, 30 hours just to know how to open this app, right? Talking about not as tech savvy people too. So that's what AI is bringing to the world. Is how I could see it. That's why I think it's going to be a huge paradigm shift. That's why we're building our own product. To be honest, that is why we are not even doing the service work anymore. Not that it's not important, but because we see in order to stay competitive in the future in the AI realm, building our own product, learning how to talk to customer, how to collect feedbacks, how to really solve problems. That's a lot more valuable. So yeah, that's my take on it so far. We'll
I
see.
love it. I
Yeah.
love it. And I'm going to jump back to Chris on this, but Chris, and then Chris could ask a question. But it kind of leads into this conversation. Sometimes Savant ends up becoming a conversation, which is really a very important thing. But I think a lot of people, and I was doing another podcast with another one of my clients, Muhammad, and Dr. Muhammad was saying the same type of thing that people are not using AI right, Chris. They're using it
Mhm.
just to write copy, to maybe answer questions for them. They're not understanding. No longer do you have to be a software engineer. No longer do you have to be understand so much tech. AI can be that technical voice for you, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. And I start to see that from my own business. And likewise, I believe we're also getting ahead of that as well, utilizing that in our own offering. So yeah, it's an incredible paradigm shift. Because it's the stuff we used to think we saw in movies. We're like, oh yeah, yeah, it'd be a couple years, but no, it's real, it's happening, and I guess I'm a little bit here for it,
And
right?
Jack, I'm ready for Neuralink. I'm gonna definitely put it. I'm
Oh,
going to do
likewise.
it. I'm gonna
Oh
do
yeah.
it. I'm gonna
I
do
can't
it.
wait.
I can't wait. I can't wait. That even only probably 1% of the country will ever do it, probably, even though
Oh
it's
yeah.
expensive. They're gonna be
Oh
a
yeah.
you know?
Well, they're gonna figure out how to make Neuralink sexy, right? And then they'll be like, "Oh, well, I got the Neuralink, and you ain't got the Neuralink, you peasants." And as vain as we are, I feel like that's how most people probably get on the train. They'll see other people, they'll be like, "Wait, this guy can do a million calculations in his head, and I'm sitting here racking my head around one book.
Oh yeah.
Let me just take that shortcut path."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let me just
So,
connect to my thought.
right,
Then in the cloud. There you go, bam. Yeah, we're talking about here, and then that's where
right.
everything starts shining. Mhm.
So to bring us back, right, and about to what you do, right? So tell us a little bit about Chat Everywhere, and how did you really get your humble beginnings with that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it was a very interesting story. So when I think 2023 April, it feel like a million years now, right? When ChatGPT first
Oh
come
yeah.
out, right? And then so it was banned in Macau, Hong Kong, and those in China, of course. So I was from Macau, but I am from Macau. And then my parents still live in Macau, so they can't really use it, right? So at that time, all I'm thinking is, okay, can I make a quote unquote ChatGPT wrapper, right? That's how everyone's calling it these days, or a
Right.
ChatGPT wrapper. That just so my parents could use it without
Mm.
any, literally no login required. I just want them to use it. I send a link, then they could use it at all. So I made it, right? It's an open source project. I just fork it and then set it up nicely, put in my key. It all works. Because I realized how powerful AI was when ChatGPT comes out, and then how cheap it was, right? So I
Mhm.
wasn't really thinking about how can we make money out of it. I'm just thinking, okay, let's just put it out there, let people use it. Maybe they find it useful, then eventually we'll figure it out how the business model will work. So just put it out there, and beside giving it to my parents, of course, I shared around on Facebook, in
Right.
Taiwan specifically, because they all speak Chinese, right? So put it in Facebook, and then there's this influencer, David, who caught it up, and then we have some back and forth. I said, oh, I think we could make this better. So he was telling me, and then I was like, we were a development firm, right? We know how to build things quickly. We know how to listen to feature requests. And, okay, yeah, let's do it. It's easy. Bam,
Right.
bam, bam. I've done it. And then he made a video for us, where we didn't ask for anything. He made a video for us, and he started promoting it himself. So that's how it all started. What's ironic about it is it get popular in Taiwan, where ChatGPT is not blocked. So, so right. That's how I come in full circle. But essentially, we continue building from there, and then we don't know what's the end product will look like. That's why Chat Everywhere for us is more like an experimental platform that we know a lot of people is using it. So we could iterate, we could build things that people ask us for. Um, so we keep evolving every time, every week we push out different features. But now we are focusing on education because we think that's where um, we should focus on when AI is coming to
Yeah.
quote unquote replace everyone. We need to
So when you
stay
first
on top of it.
started, helping out your mom, which, I
Mhm.
think that's how a lot of great ideas starts, right? It
Yep.
just starts with helping the need, giving some free value, and then
Mhm.
eventually you find those patterns, right?
Yeah.
Where the market is sort of having. Um,
Mhm.
you grew it from, tell me a little bit about the user base right now. You
Mhm.
essentially grew from, mom and pop, few different folks on Facebook to, if I understand it now, it's a couple thousand plus users now, right?
Yeah. I think I don't have the latest number, but I think we have at least I think 30K MAU.
Amazing.
Um,
Oh,
yeah,
Wow.
the
MAU.
minimum.
Wow.
Yeah, MAU. And then we start doing B2B. So we start selling back to schools. It was funny, right? We start as B2B as a firm, as a dev firm, and then we do B2C. We're trying to
Oh
build
yeah.
products to the customer. Now
Got to
back to B2B.
diversify.
Exactly, right? Whatever path works. So anyway, we sold to over 60 elementary school, middle school, university in Taiwan. So we're mainly focusing on Taiwan right now, and it's great. It's going well. So yeah, so that's how we grew to right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, and,
Mhm.
and and I know that at 30 monthly active users, I mean that there's just so much potential right with that, and Like you said, yeah, AI is not going anywhere. You guys just continue to add more
Totally.
features and more offerings.
Mhm.
This has this huge potential, right? How's
Yeah.
that sort of core vision for chat everywhere? How do you see that sort of evolving now, right? Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's it's actually like when you asked me that earlier, I don't really have a clear vision on what Chat Everywhere is supposed to be, right?
Hmm.
Which you shouldn't really hear from a founder of a product. But what I think is good about this approach is that we're not really fixating ourselves to a certain direction, which is I think is very, very, very important now. So when we first started ChatGPT Wrapper, right? So we have a gazillion ChatGPT Wrapper out there. So how do we compete with them? So instead, we were thinking, okay, why don't we specialize in education, right? Because our
Hmm.
user base for majority of them is students, actually, that we did not know about. So we were thinking about, okay, why would student wants to use us compared to, let's say, Copilot, right? It's
Right.
also free, it's also da 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 da. Turns out, because so we have V2 now, so on V1, people doesn't even need to log in to use it, right? So for
Mm.
students, it's very, very valuable because they no longer need to set up their accounts. And we are talking about student in their 8 years old, 9 years old. They don't really have that, I wouldn't say that much mental space, but it's hard to remember a password, let alone
Yeah,
to email for
that's a good
themselves,
point.
right? So a class started, it's only 40 minutes. I have to spend like 10 minutes to set up everyone's account. And if one student couldn't make it, now the whole class need to wait.
Ah,
So that's why the teacher push it in and said, okay, just go to this link, Google Chat everywhere, go into
right.
it. That's why we have a lot of Google traffic. We didn't know why. So now we figure it out.
Good
And then
call, math.
everyone's Googling it, they just got it on, then now they start a class. So
So
that's
the,
how
so
we
so yeah. So the
Mhm.
wrapper, explain for
Yeah.
prompts. So you're more focusing on the education vertical market, or
Yeah,
for this?
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we start as a wrapper where we make it more user friendly. We put in all the prompt templates. ChatGPT still doesn't have a built-in prompt template functionality.
That's also very
Um,
surprising.
so exactly, right? And it's in folders, right? They don't even have folders. They have projects, not folders.
Right.
So it's very hard to organize those
Oh, it's totally
chat.
that. It's not a user-friendly system. Like
Exactly,
looks like that Gemini is doing a better job or other platforms, but the bottom line is ChatGPT is still better than everybody else, even
exactly.
though all the other platforms are getting to that point. Period. There's no organization. Someone finally showed me there was a search bar to search, but their search engine's not very good when you type in a word to try to find specifically what you've done. And you think you could put them into different folders from projects you've been working on. And that's
Mhm.
not there yet, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Something even more shocking. They don't have sorting. Sorry, they don't have reordering of
Yeah.
conversations,
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's a
So
good point. I didn't think about that.
why
Yeah, it's
not?
like I just got a laundry list of prompts that I've
Exactly.
done, and I'm like, where do I
Exactly.
go to
Thank God I
find
can search. Before I was
Uh-huh.
like, go down, 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 down. I'm like, no, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So we make it more user friendly from the user feedback, right? We did not come up with any of those. They just tell us.
That's
Everyone's
brilliant.
like, okay, cool, that's perfect. They just tell us what to do. So yeah, then we start going into education, but for education, you need more tailored
I
feature,
agree.
right?
Mhm.
So we're thinking, okay, on V1, student doesn't need to log in, so they can start talking to the AI. But how does the teacher interact with the student, right?
Mm.
Because they all doesn't have an account, right? So on the technical level, how do you connect them together? Because all users is unique from our point of view. I don't know which class are you on. So later on, what we build is a teacher portal. Essentially, for student to connect to the teacher. But again, we don't want student to remember anything, right? We don't want to remember the password. We don't want to remember the account. So what we did is we generate a one-time code for every classroom session that the teacher could create.
Right.
Then all the student needs to do is just punch in that six-digit number, right? The teacher pulls it to a projector. The student punch in the code. Now they can enter the class. Literally 5 seconds of work instead of before 10 minutes setting up a password. Sorry, setting up your account, remembering your accounts, figure it out why it doesn't work. Then we build things on top of it. Let's
Yeah.
say the teacher could could set up the prompt templates so the student could use it right away instead of copy and pasting everywhere else. So that's how we kind of build on top of things in the education sector. So more vertical focus, like Neil
Yeah.
said.
No, I love that you're still keeping that exploration mode, right? Hence, your other firm, Explorer
Right.
Labs, right?
Mhm. There you
Really,
go.
I think that's the biggest part, customer discovery, really knowing your users intimately. And now you've crafted this business model where I don't think anyone's touching this right now.
Mhm.
And I know for you could probably feel akin to finding gold.
Oh yeah,
Where it's like, okay, no
absolutely.
one's touched
So
this, right?
yeah.
So
So Jack, let's kind of dive deeper into this
Yeah.
specifically. The wrapper is for what, for K through 12 education? Are you focusing on? Are you focusing on colleges too? Because remember, AI is being really ostracized in the education market right now,
Yep.
especially
Mhm.
There
by
are.
teachers. Especially, they don't really like AI. They think the kids are cheating, not
Mhm.
understanding that we need to reevaluate how kids learn and how
Exactly.
things are put together. Yes, you have an editor, but what kind of research were they able to come up with? What kind of arguments were they able to pull utilizing AI? Because at one point in time, that'll be what vertical market in the education is it K through 12? You're building wrappers, or are you customizing them for each individual education account?
Yeah. So that's another interesting, I'd say, unconventional approach that we're taking. We we don't really have too specific of a target market for the entire software, but we segment them up by a different part of the app. So let's say, for example, for Chat Everywhere itself, but this might be why we recently did a lot of market research work to do. Anyway, so for the Chat Everywhere itself, we wanted to make it so easy to use that no matter which age group that you're in, if a 5 years old could use it, right? Somebody in their
Mm.
30s, someone in their 50s, we
Okay.
definitely know how to use it. So we're definitely designing it in a way that fit the a lot younger demographic. So making sure they know how to use it, everyone else will know how to use it. So now the problem is how about the more advanced users, right? Or more techie users. So we put things behind a advanced toggle or an advanced paywall, so now they could play with those settings themselves. With Pawn template library, which again ChatGPT does not have built in. Uh, so and then in terms of for teachers, so we segment up the app to have what we call a teacher portal. So teachers using those um, features specifically, so they can interact with the student. So right now, Chat Everywhere itself is more like an umbrella term for a lot of different segments of the application that we are building for different demographics. We're also exploring the business use case because what we find out is the education sector is moving quite a little bit too slow, but which makes sense. They need to make sure
Right.
things are in good hands. Um, but in terms of revenue, that's not good, right? Let's say a school signed 2 3 years contract when the school year starts. But how about during the school year, right? Nobody's gonna buy new software during the school year. They buy it before the school starts.
Makes sense.
So
Yeah.
that's why we're exploring the business market, where it's more like I want it now, I buy it now, I don't need to wait for the next fiscal year to schedule my budget. So that's another part that we're exploring. But going back to Neil's perspective, nobody know how to use AI in education right now, thoroughly,
Mm.
at least comprehensively. So we are all exploring this together, and the best place to figure it out is work with teachers. Right? You need a school that could work with you, you need a class of students that are willing to work with you so you could figure it out what's the best approach. And more importantly, you need a vendor, which is, let's say, us, to tailor the software as we go to finally figure it out instead of how to incorporate ChatGPT in the current form in the education system,
Totally.
which a year
Mm.
later be completely different.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah,
And you're definitely looking at different verticals, not just United States, North America. You look Canada's education system way different than the United States. And
absolutely.
then you look at other countries. I don't know if you're exploring those other countries as well, but
Mhm.
to the tutoring industry is the only one that's embraced AI, starting with Khan Academy, then
Yep.
going into specifically enough the other platforms. There's a client I had, I mean,
Mhm.
a guest I had on my show who's a celebrity that is like the chief CTO of the company or some level, but he was an actor and he's promoting the product. And but it's involving tutoring. You really need the ability for kids to use this on their own, to be able to use it, the teachers to use it, because teachers
Yeah,
are missing out tremendously in creating lesson plans,
that's
creating
true.
all those different things. So it's more about the education portion, getting through the stuffy education environment of funding. But you're right, other forms too, because ultimately everyone thinks they're a superstar prompter, Jack. But
Yeah.
by you creating this software,
Mm.
people don't get this, and I just learned this today, that when I ask a question to AI, because I use it so much, AI is going to answer that question way better for me than the average user took the same prompt. You
Absolutely.
need to put together a program where it's already trained and you're training that model. Kind of explain that, Jack.
Yeah. So it's where they brought it up. So literally 2 hours ago, I was having a call with Derek, one of our team member, and then he was showing me this demo of a new product, right? So it's AI product. That demo, they put in a long prompt. Then I was telling him, average user is never gonna write a prompt this long. They're just gonna
Mm,
say, "Tell me this," right? Tell me this.
right.
But for us, we have played around with this so much. We know how to tailor our prompt, essentially just what we tell the model to generate, right? In a specific way, so it generate those better tailored answer for us. Um, so I think until the model gets smart enough, or until neural network become a thing, there's always this learning curve that a average user needs to go through. It's kind of like we hope AI would lower the barrier of entry of computer drastically overnight, but turns out you still need to educate them how to use AI properly, especially nowadays. Different AI model has different right style of response
Yep.
Right.
that make it even harder. So I think yeah, over time you need to tackle and educate the market. Hopefully you don't have to do it that hard. Um, Motivate them to use it first. Um, Touch a little bit on the education side. Why the kid doesn't want to study, right? I think we need to figure that out and how to use AI to help that
Mm,
first.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, education is not really about you pass this test, now you're good to
Right.
go. It's about how to give them the curiosity to let them explore the world on their own. Right now, we still don't know how to do it. We just gamify, let's say, Duolingo, language learning. But the motive, the deep down motive is from the user side. Let's say I want to meet their parents who doesn't speak English. That's why I want to learn the language. But education is not solving that right now. So I think instead of going in, revolutionize the whole education market, we should help the teacher first. So they
yeah.
learn how to use the AI to help the day-to-day, and then we slowly introduce what AI could benefit their workflow from this teacher level, school level, provincial level, and then the government. Now it's very obvious that when they reach to that level that, oh, okay, this students from this school has like
Right.
let's say 50% more extracurriculum activities than everyone else, then it would become very obvious about it. So that's what we're hoping to achieve with Chat River
Okay.
Yeah.
in the long
All
run.
right.
Yeah. This is awesome.
So Chris, what questions? I mean, we really need to explore another conversation
Oh
involved,
yeah. You're coming
because
back.
Jack, we're really building some. What I'm going to tell you is brings the game changers when it comes to this whole AI conversation, this whole
Oh,
tech conversation with UX Bright, and with him building Savant and bringing the people that don't put the time in together with these tech gurus. Go figure where we're going to go. But good, Chris, what's your next question?
yeah. I was just wanted to just to the point around the education and the impact that you've done so far. What have you seen in terms of student feedback and
Mhm.
teacher feedback as a result of you implementing the chat
Yeah,
everywhere?
Mhm.
yeah. The feedback has been a little bit, I'd say, out of expectation, which is always a good thing, right? So essentially, at the end of the day, it comes down to what use cases, what kind of course material that you're bringing into
Yep.
the class enabled by AI, right? That is not possible before. So
Right.
one of this course activity that they did is they let the student to describe their dream
Mm,
and then generate
Mhm.
an image from it for their dream. Or I should say to describe, like, this is what I see in my dream.
right.
Um, so that was not possible before, right? The student to learn how to draw first. The student need
Oh.
to really visualize, right, what they are seeing. They have to remember, right? But instead with AI now, they could be, okay, I have this dream about this, or pretty short form. Then I could keep changing it. I remember this here, this here, the background is this. So
Mhm.
now at the end, they have a final product of what the dream was looking like. Now the student is very happy, right? That, okay, I want to paint this out. So now we're getting into the motive part of what makes them exciting about learning things. Now they want to learn how to draw because they want to visual, they want to see their dream in real life. Now they just need to copy whatever the AI generated. So that's for the student side. They're very excited to see this AI thing because now it's doing something that wasn't possible.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, if I
Yeah.
had that at fifth, or third grade, I mean, that would blow my socks off.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah, I had
absolutely.
Windows 98 computer. I was like, okay, this is still great.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's good enough, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, but for teacher as well, it really saved them a lot of admin work. Right? Back then they had to write a lot of reports. So now they can just let's say I have a draft of a report and I put it in, ask ChatGPT or ask ChatGPT to make adjustment. So that really helps them a lot, saves them a lot of time. And so yeah, at the end, I think that's what AI should do, right? Free human from those boring work to let human to really do creative stuff that really
Really,
we're
really,
very
because they
good at.
don't need we don't need that part of the brain anymore.
Exactly.
No.
That's going to be the heart of the academics is we don't need that part of the brain anymore. That's very
Exactly.
hard for them to deal with. You know what I'm saying? I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean,
I,
so okay. So Chris, any other questions for Jack?
yeah, just lastly, what are just some of those key insights that you want to leave the audience here today? Whether you're someone who's new in the AI or maybe you're using AI in some capacity, but you're not an expert quite yet. What are some of
Mhm.
those key takeaways?
Yeah, so I'm gonna speak from the perspective of a technical entrepreneur, right?
Okay, great.
Because that's who I am. I'd say, well, first of all, keep yourself in the loop, right? Just going to Twitter or X, that's good enough. Follow whoever AI people, and then experiment with different tools, a lot, and then try to use them to iterate really, really fast. Because with Cursor, with different AI product, we as a dev firm, we don't need that many people anymore while achieving the same speed of development. So really take advantage of that. If AI could help you, let it help you. I'm
Right.
not even talking about you be replaced by AI. Let it help you to do your work a lot better, so you can stand out from the competition, or even just do something useful that you wanted to do. So yeah, the insight essentially is learn how to use the tool, leverage those tools to iterate to build a product, and just run with it. See
Yeah.
where the path will lead you to.
Were there any resources that helped you really kind of get a grasp on just the sea that is AI and all the knowledge? Should I just go into AI and start asking questions? Maybe that's a good
Yeah,
start.
yeah, basically. No. Try out Cursor. Cursor, the IDE. It's definitely one of the best AI coding assistants if they're not really doing the coding for you at all already. So that's the best one. Once you get into it, you start opening doors to see what's possible. So yeah,
No, this is awesome.
There's totally anything is possible with AI. And you don't have to be an expert in that to be able to develop it, which
exactly,
means time is your only money's not the resource problem. Now it's time because you can't
exactly,
figure out what you want to do or what not to do. Jack, best
exactly.
place we can connect with you. Where can we go?
We could go to, well, LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm more active Facebook now somehow. Then and then I do have a blog. So
Oh,
thejackwu.com.
awesome.
It's the link. So yeah, check it out. I post quite some of my
Could
journey
you
there.
spell that
Hopefully
domain
it'll be
out
useful.
for us?
Sure, yeah. TheJackwu.com.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it having you on.
Fabulous. It
This is
was great.
a
All
blast.
right. That was a
Looking forward
special
to having
Thanks so
you.
much,
simulcast.
guys.
Exactly. And go where Chris savantrepreneur.com and uxbright.com. Right?
Yep, you got it.
All right. Thanks. That was a special simulcast, the Neil Haley Show. And